there, moguls. It's me, Marshall Silver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. In the first hour of the broadcast, I'm going to give you content, information for better sex, more money, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice, more strategies and gambits for having it all. The second hour is what I'm most excited about. It's when I get a chance to chat with you. Yes, you. Where you can call in, talk to me, ask me questions. And if you say the secret word of the day, you could win $5,000 cash. At the very least, if you're the most interesting call of the day, you could also win 10 ounces of freshly minted Marshall Silver 999 Fine Silver. All of that and more. Brand new Mercedes-Benz sedan or SUV up for grabs. My personal Rolls-Royce Phantom up for grabs. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information about its release coming up. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. I'm Marshall Silver, your personal millionaire maker.
Let me bring in our hypnotist, Marshall Silver.
It's Marshall Silver, ladies and gentlemen, the world's fastest hypnotist.
You caught me refreshing myself. It is seltzer water with cranberry juice. Good for the soul. Welcome to this edition of Live with Marshall Silver. So excited to have you on the show today, and you should be excited too. It is our 23rd program, 23rd coming up today. And we've got $7,500 up for grabs, $7,500 if you didn't know what that means. When you say the secret word, not just cranberries, I'm going to give you all sorts of cash. And if you are interesting when you call in during the second hour, I've also got 10 ounces of Marshall Silver, pure silver up for grabs. All you got to do is be interesting, be voted on by your peers. And as they say, the rest is history. You win the silver bar guaranteed, and you might even win the cash if you stumble upon that secret word mixed in there some way. Today, we have a guest that I like very much. I've watched this guy for a long time. You know me, I like selling things, and I have a special affection for people that sell things. My own personal truth is that salespeople are the cornerstone of the economy. And when salespeople are flourishing, the entire economy flourishes. I teach people never, ever, ever, ever apologize for selling things. It's what makes the world go around. Today on the show, we've got a man renowned for his unparalleled ability to close deals and drive business growth. Ambro, the closing king, has become the go-to expert for businesses looking to scale their operations and boost their revenue. With a proven track record of transforming sales strategies and team performances, Ambro shares his insights today on the show into the psychology of closing, effective sales techniques, and the strategies that have crowned him as the leader in sales optimization. So whether you're a business owner seeking to scale, a sales professional looking to enhance your closing skills, or simply intrigued by the art of selling, Ambro's proven strategies and insights offer invaluable guidance for achieving unparalleled success in the world of sales. Please welcome to the show a man who needs no last name, Ambro.
How's it going, ladies and gentlemen?
Brother.
Thank you for having me, Marshall.
Hey, always great to chat with you. You look like you're in the middle of your workout right now.
That's right. We're getting the steps in. We have the walking treadmill right underneath us and ready to share some knowledge with you guys today.
Well, that is awesome. I appreciate that you would interrupt your massive walk just to get on this show today.
Yeah, you gotta
So
get
you're up in Ottawa, as I recall.
Montreal. So just a sidestep over.
Lovely. And obviously, things are heating up in Canada as much as they're heating up in the United States. All sorts of interesting things going on in our world. For those people that don't know who you are, how about a little bit of background on you and what you do?
Yep. So my name is Ambro Di Pilato. I am the owner and founder of Netrevenue.io. We are a full service recruitment and management firm that specifically is designed to help education businesses scale alongside with SaaS and agency services. So we help build out their entire sales infrastructure, help them, take over their sales operations and help them scale their sales teams.
And you've been doing this for how long?
Five long years, Marshall, 5 long years. So before that, I had started some other businesses in the past. I had started a landscaping company. I started an application, and I actually used to do art galleries as well, pop-up art galleries across all of Montreal.
What made you decide to get into the sales business?
It kind of happened by accident, if I'm being real with you, Marshall. So the nature of me getting into sales was out of necessity. You said earlier on your programming that sales is the backbone of every business. It's the backbone of finances in general, in business transactions. I understood that very early on, that I had an inclination towards sales through the multitude of different businesses that I had tried to start. I realized that it was a needed service. And when I was originally going through the process of failed business after failed business after failed business, I realized that the only way that I'm actually going to be able to make a disproportionate amount of wealth in a very short period of time was through the ability of sales. It was through understanding how to negotiate. It was through understanding how to transact. Because before I could even learn the fundamentals of business, I needed to transact dollars. I think that's what makes a business a real business as opposed to a hobby. It's when you initially get that first sale. So I started off by just becoming a salesperson. I was working in the online education space, originally selling e-commerce products. And then I had the unfortunate realization that that company was actually going out of business. So I was now back to square one. I was like, can't make a business successful, can't even, have a job that's successful. So by necessity, I saw the need in the marketplace for done for you sales, as it's kind of quoted now, a sales agency. So that's originally how I got into sales. I originally started working just myself, offering my services as an outsourced sales version. And then I built the team up to, we're about 120 folks today.
You have about 120 salespeople or 120 employees?
Members of our company. I would say about 82 salespeople that are active and live.
That's awesome, man. How many companies are you serving right now?
So we're servicing about 32 companies right now.
And you say the majority of them are information marketing companies, online folks?
Correct. Yeah, primarily in the real estate education space. So that's where the bulk of our clients lie. We also have, companies that are so specific. Like a great example is we have a marketing agency that specifically is tailored to dog toys and dog services companies. So it gets pretty niche depending on the clients that we're servicing. But I would say the bulk of them is probably in the real estate education space.
And of those people, any names that we would know that you work with?
Yeah, so we've worked with, a lot of big names in the space. Some of our former clients include the likes of, Tom Bilyeu, Jeff Seckinger, Manny Koshbin, Tom Cruise. Our active clients today are ranging from, Thatch Wynn, Keaton Hoskins, King Kong, Austin Rutherford. The list goes on and on. I'll sit here all day naming them all out, but that's just an example of some of the clients that we service.
There's a ton of people. For people that don't know this portion of the business, there's obviously a ton of people doing what you just called a sales agency kind of arrangement, where they come into companies and they say, we'd like to manage your salespeople for you. In fact, you must have contacted me right when you first launched.
Correct.
Because we chatted, and I looked back in my old DMs, and you had said, hey, I'd like to assist you with this. And Lord knows, I wish I'd have responded to you back then, because obviously you've blown this thing up. There's a lot of people though, and some big names in the business. And I know if I said the names out loud, you'd know the name, and a lot of other people would know the names. There's people in the business that offer similar things. They offer up salespeople to come in and speak for organizations and sell for organizations, and they just don't deliver. You know, you've had massive success, and you've done extremely well. Obviously, I met you. I was reintroduced to you by a mutual friend of mine, somebody who used to work with you that's now working on my team. And you've got a different track record. Your track record's exceptional. Why do you suppose it is that these big organizations that are doing $1 million, $2 million, $3 million bucks a month, why do you suppose that they don't deliver salespeople and then ultimately, you know, don't have a reason for not? What do you think their reason for not delivering is?
Yeah. So the answer to that is twofold. One is that sales talent is extremely hard to find. And the issue and the nature of most of these competitors that are in the space, and there's probably only about one that really comes to mind as a true competitor, would be that they are an education company and the sidestep to their business is offering salespeople. For us, we are 100% a recruitment and management firm. We don't charge our sales reps to come and join us, you know, teach people that have never really been in sales before, don't really have the sales know-how, experience, and the fundamentals, give them a course and then throw them on a client account. We specifically, intentionally, and exclusively bring on, you know, top-level sales talent in a multitude of different industries, train them on, you know, the online education space, and then give them free reins to utilize their process and mold their process into ours. Of course, we offer our own internal training, but that's not something we're selling as an education product. We specifically want the best of the best sales talent from a multitude of different industries to be able to service our clients. So that's part of it. Another element to it that I could almost see as, you know, looking back on how they've scaled and how they typically don't generate great results is that they're giving a faulty product to begin with. The issue with salespeople is that really good salespeople, you don't want to sell them off. You don't want to give them to another organization. You want them to work within your own organization. And the thing is, if you're just putting them through a course and then, you know, churning them out to be sold, it adds a conflict of interest because you are going to, by nature, just keep the best of the best salespeople, especially if you're offering a done-for-you model. Because the people that, you know, are doing a done with you or, you know, let's say a do-it-yourself, if you're just purchasing salespeople from them, they're not giving you the absolute creme de la creme, if you may. So that's the reason why we haven't necessarily shifted towards that model. It's why we've kept things 100% done for you. It's been our model that's been incredibly successful. It also allows us to focus on increasing the LTV of our customers rather than just always trying to get new ones.
How does someone work with you? You mentioned that you don't charge salespeople that come on board. Obviously, that's a business model that a lot of the agencies utilize. They'll charge the salesperson, they'll put them through some inconsequential, insignificant training and say, hey, you know, there you go for your $5,000. And, you know, maybe we'll place you, maybe we won't. But I would agree with you that they're placing the worst salespeople because they're not giving up the best ones. Those are the ones they're keeping for themselves. Tell me about your business structure. So do you have a site where if we've got salespeople watching the show, and we've got a lot of people that do watch the show, if we have salespeople watching the show right now that are saying, hey, you know, I'd love an opportunity, what would be the process that they would go through to work with you?
Absolutely. Yeah. So you guys could just go over to www.netrevenue.io/careers. We have a multitude of open spots right now, whether it's, you know, someone who doesn't have a ton of sales experience and they want to start off as an SDR and just, you know, learn, because we also provide the internal training. Of course, we won't be charging anyone for anything like that. Like I said, we're not an education company. We want the best of the best people that are extremely hardworking, that have, you know, a good moral compass. They operate with ethics and they're game time. We noticed that the people who have prior successes, whether it be in sports, whether it be in their academics, whether it be in business ventures, success leaves clues. If you have wins in other realms and you want to bring that over to sales, then you start as an SDR and you work your way up. And of course, those who have, you know, exceptional sales background, like I said, you could go over to Netrevenue/careers for that. So there's plenty of you know, roles open for that, from sales managers to sales reps to even SDRs. So it gives a wide open variety of positions available at the company.
And for those that don't know, could you please explain the acronyms?
Yes, SDR is sales development representative. So that would be someone who's like a setter. You'll be calling appointments, setting appointments, just basically nurturing pipelines, lead sheets, and so on and so forth.
So an SDR is compensated, since they're a setter, they're compensated per appointment, or you compensate them per sale, or how does that work?
It would be per sale. So it'd be a basis of a percentage of the sales generated.
And what kind of a percentage might they expect?
Anywhere from 2.5 to 5%.
For the setter. And then what about you? I'm guessing that you also have a closer that picks it up after the setter's set.
Correct. So they would get a standardized 10% across all our salespeople, plus bonuses, of course, for performance.
Sure. What could a salesperson working with your organization, what could they expect to earn if they were decent? Just good, not over the top, not horrible.
Yeah, the median salary over at our company for salespeople specifically is over 6 figures. So you could expect that to be the range, specifically around $13,000 to $14,000 per month is the median salary. Now, of course, I would never want anyone coming into my organization just wanting to be median or, base level. I want you to be exceptional. I want you to aim for the highest of the highs. Now, typically our top performers are going to be ranging from $20,000 to $30,000 to even $40,000 a month in commissions. Of course, that varies month to month based off of a host of different factors, but that's usually the upper echelons of what we've seen be possible with our organization.
Now, you said salary. You didn't mean salary because they're commission only.
Correct. Yeah.
So the average earning is about
average.
Yeah. So that's how the salespeople work. Tell me how the companies work with you. So I've got a company, I've got a product I'd like to sell, which we do, by the way. I've got a product that we'd like to sell digitally. How would that relationship between us work?
Yeah. So a host of our clients typically come to us, very similar to like yourself, Marshall, where they have an existing product, they've tested proof of concept, they have some sales, they have a ton of leads, but they're not maximizing those leads. So that's typically where we come into play to be able to just build out the sales operations and quickly scale things from there. Now, all of our clients are not coming in on like a retainer format. We do everything commission based. So very similarly to how we're paying out our sales guys, everything is performance based. We wouldn't be wanting to be treated any other way. So we're 100% commission based. We typically are taking between 20 to 30% of the revenue that we generate. So anything that's sold through like a VSL or a funnel, anything that doesn't involve a salesperson wouldn't be part of our scope of compensation. But anything that does require a salesperson, that's typically where we're going to come into play. So that's on a commission basis. We're going to be consulting our clients on what we see works best in the marketplace, because we have such a wide variety of clients. We see and have a really good scope on what's working in the marketplace. So we're going to be consulting on the best organic marketing strategies, how to price our product, how to market our product, how to sell our product, and most importantly, how to scale the sales operation side of things.
You said between 20 to 30% for your clients. What is the distinction? Obviously, that's a big difference. What's the difference between 20 or 30%?
So it's really based off of the establishment of the client. How well established are they? What is their proof of concept? What revenue point are they already at? We're going to take a smaller percentage if someone's at $250,000 a month consistently and they're looking to get to 500 or $1 million, versus someone who's coming to us with no sales, brand new product. They're pretty much just coming into this. They have a good audience. They have a lot of people asking them for their education or their service or their product, and they just need a sales team in place because maybe they haven't built a sales team before. Maybe they have, or they just don't have the time. So those are really where we come into play to help build out that side of the equation.
What do you look for when somebody contacts you as a salesperson? What are you looking for? Is there a personality makeup? Is there somebody that the moment you meet them, you hear them, you say, hey, yeah, that guy's going to work out great? What are you looking for? Yeah.
So if we have the time, Marshall, I'll walk you guys through our hiring process, which I think is pretty unique. And I think it's some free game for everyone here. So
yeah, I'm interested.
yeah, whether you own a business or you're going to be, looking to become a sales rep in our organization, there's a very interesting way in which we go about our interview process, our hiring process as a whole. So we put as many barriers to entry as possible. Becoming a salesperson with us is incredibly difficult. That's by design. If we're taking only the best of the best, we need to put them through a lot of hoops to make sure that the final couple of folks that we get from a round of hiring are absolutely exceptional. And now all that's left to do is really train them on the product, make sure that they understand our sales process. So overall, we kind of utilize it like a funnel, very much like, generating leads on the front end of your business. We start with ads. So ads are our typical way of generating sales talent. So rather than people paying us to become sales reps at our organization, we're actually paying to acquire those applications. So we're going to be running ad campaigns that, have a variety of different, you could almost say, criteria that we're looking for in those ad sets. We're typically looking for men and women between the ages of 20 to 45. That's our typical age range of folks that we're looking for. We're looking for primarily English-speaking countries and regions. So that's going to be Canada, US, Australia, England, and so on and so forth. And then pretty much from there, we're going to be funneling those ads to our website. So those applications are going to be going into the website. They're going to see a VSL, almost like a sales letter, and then they're going to be directed to an application process. Over the course of the application process, we're asking them a host of different questions. Some are tailored mostly to our business and what we look for. People who play sports or go to the gym typically make great salespeople. Because
why do you think that is?
It's because they're able to be disciplined. So sales is incredibly output focused. So the more output you get, typically the better results you're going to generate, simply by you putting in a ton of work over an extended period of time, whether that be through your training, through outbound calls, through just speaking with customers. It's almost a numbers game to a certain point. Now, of course, we don't want to just chalk it up to being a numbers game. We want to refine that. We want to train. We want to understand NLP. We want to understand all of these psychological factors that go into being able to sell. But it does come down to sheer work ethic in the beginning stages of your sales career. So coming from a sports or a gym background is typically going to result in someone being at least disciplined enough to get through the initial stages of what we need to see in order to get them live on a contract, for instance. So that's typically a good indicator. From there, they go through the application process and they are sent into our CRM. From the CRM, they are requested to send a video application. So it's basically just explaining what their sales background is, where their career is at right now, what they're looking to accomplish at our company, and X, Y, and Z. The real purpose of that is we want to see how well do they articulate themselves. Are they well spoken? Are they presentable? We're going over a list of different factors that we look for in terms of the criteria that we think makes a good salesperson. Based off of that application, that video application, they're then sent to a group interview. Now, this is where things change a little bit. This is where we like to implement our own structure to this. So our group interviews are basically the way of us maximizing the amount of interviews that we're doing, because like sales, we want to almost treat it like a numbers game. We know we're going to have a lot of conversations. And if we're having individual interviews, that takes a lot of time. So one, it's saving us a lot of time on that front. But what it allows us to do, especially in that initial interview, is pick people out based off of how good they are compared to the rest. It's almost like, the herd that you could kind of pick out the individuals that stand out. So that's one element of it. So the first thing that we're going to ask them in that group interview is, give me a quick intro on yourself. Give me a little intro, your sales experience, followed by the question, why sales? So that's all I'm having them do. So I go one by one. I ask all of the people. We typically have about 20 to 40 people in those interview rooms where we're going through this process. After that's concluded, we've gone through all the intros. We asked them why sales, and they've given some good answers. I proceed to have them self-select the best applicants. So I give them a hypothetical situation. I ask them, you guys have all been great. You wouldn't have made it to this call if we didn't love your application and knew you were a great fit initially, which makes it all that much harder for us to choose the applicants that are going to make it to the next step. What I would like you guys to do is think of yourselves in my situation. You could only select 2 individuals from this group, one of them being yourself and another member that you select that's in this interview. The caveat is if you select someone and they don't make it in the company, you're both let go. Who would you select? And then I have them put that in the chat. So now you're going to see that there's going to be 3, 4, 5 names that are continuously popping up through all of the candidates inside that interview room. So they're self-selecting the best possible candidates for you. So you'll get a group of, let's say, 6 or even 10 individuals based off of that 20 to 40 person group. I then put them on a secondary interview where it's a skill test. So we're basically going over the set of the call. How would they respond to a sales type of conversation? And then I take all that information and then we make our final picks, where the last step of that process will either we hire them right on the spot or we have one last interview where we're having a one-on-one with them. So that's kind of our process. That's how someone comes into our organization, and it's how we pick absolutely amazing salespeople, is we allow them to almost pick it for us, which is an interesting concept, which we haven't seen in a lot of organizations. So that's some free game for you guys.
And what training do you put them through?
We've developed our own internal training. We also utilize external trainings. There's some great folks out there. Eli Wild has some great sales training. That's probably the only person that comes to mind when I think of NLP at its finest form. We've purchased his training to give to our internal members. We have our own. There's also members of our team. We allocate a budget to have our team go through, a multitude of different training organizations, whether that be Jeremy Miner, Cole Gordon, all those guys.
For the people, so if you've got 82 salespeople and they're on average doing $100,000 a year in revenue at 10%, then that would be $100,000 per rep times 82 or $8 million a month. Is that the kind of revenue you're doing right now?
So no, because the vast majority of the people that we've hired have been in the last month or so. So we've had some explosive growth in Q1. So we've scaled about 340% in the last quarter, which is great growth, but now operations is having to really step in and we're having to increase that. But we're doing somewhere in the ballpark of about $1 million per month.
Ah, good.
Yeah.
Very good. What's the future for you? Where's this going?
Hopefully a lot more than that. I wouldn't be able to say for certain because I'd be speculating, of course. We've had a tremendous amount of growth in these last 3 months. It would be hard for me to extrapolate that out to see, okay, how sustainable is this growth? And will we be keeping all 82 of those sales members? Probably not. I'd assume that about 20 or 30 of them are going to churn out within the first 30 days. So it really depends on, do we continue to see this type of growth and is it sustainable? Because the last thing that we would want to do is grow so quick and big that, operations doesn't continue alongside with that. And then much to your comments earlier of, other members in the space not being able to scale their results to all of these new clients. We don't want to fall in the same bucket. We like generating great results for our clients. It's why they hire us and keep us around. So it's something to be mindful of. So it would be hard to say. But where do we see this going long term and what's the vision? We do want to eventually merge into private equity is the game.
And when you say merge into private equity, does that mean take the company public? Is that your idea?
Not necessarily. More so just acquiring other companies. So I think we've done a great job of scaling companies. I think when we are able to identify, what are the things holding a company back, whether it's product related, whether it's sales related, whether it's marketing related, I think we have a great network of people to be able to fill those spots. but then also consult those companies and take an equity invested stake in them to be able to scale them up and, do some arbitrage activities with that.
What do you suppose is the reason that you went through such explosive growth? Did you up your ad spend? What'd you do to go through 340% growth in the first quarter?
So we actually
That's doubling every month.
Yeah. So we actually lost one of our big clients. So in early December, we lost one of our big clients. We were doing a lot less in revenue prior to that, but we had lost one of our big clients, and we had about, I want to say, 4 or 5 active accounts at that time. So we had lost one of our big clients. It was a huge hit to us simply because it had never even crossed our minds that we were going to lose them in the first place. So when we did,
why did you lose the client?
They just simply wanted to bring things internal. So we had been working with them for almost 3 years at that point, and they were one of our longest lasting clients. They were a great client of ours. I actually even sent them on a trip to Cancun with them and their families. Like, we had a great relationship, and then overnight that seemed to switch. We never got any, final conclusions as to why they actually made that decision. I respected the decision, but it was, very short notice, and we simply had to pivot. And we had the conversation amongst myself and, the rest of the executive team. And we said, do we want to continue to be a boutique lifestyle agency at the time, or do we really want to make this a big company? And I think when we had that conversation, I think we came to the inevitable conclusion that we are not in business to play small. I think it's as hard to build a big business as it is to build a small one. So I think we made the decision then and there to scale up all sides of operation when it came to client acquisition, when it came to sales reps, operations, and everything of that nature, which has led to this growth, which hopefully will continue to be sustainable.
So now I know why, but I still don't know how. How, and this is of course interesting to everybody. How in the world did you grow 100% plus on average for the first 3 months of the year?
Yeah. So one of the big things is we built out an entire client acquisition team. So prior to this, we had one acquisition member. He was our quote unquote CAO, is the official title that we gave him. And that was Wade, exactly. So Wade was entirely our client acquisition portion of the business, alongside with any referrals that we would generate throughout the business. So that was one of the big things. Of course, in order to scale up that side of the equation, we would need Wade's outputs to increase tremendously. We knew that was impossible, especially considering that the vast majority of our client acquisition was coming from outbound, primarily Instagram outreach. So this was just cold DMing folks on Instagram, very similar to my initial message to you, Marshall, many, many years ago, was pretty much the exact process of how we would generate clients. So that was exactly how we did things. The way that we scaled that up is Wade took it upon himself. He hired, I think, 4 or 5 DM setters that he had on both a salary. So I believe there was an earnings per outreach that they made. So they got, like, let's say, for instance, $1 per Instagram DM that they sent to a qualified prospect. And then they would receive, I think, 5% commissions on the onboarding fee of the individual that we close on, essentially. So he built that team up. And I think now he's sitting at 14 full-time setters just in that division of the company, which if I'm just being, straight with you, Marshall, I don't know too much about, because Wade has really taken the initiative there and has, steered that whole side of the business. But that's resulted in us generating a tremendous amount of client, conversations on a weekly basis, which prior to that, we would have maybe 1 or 2 of those a week. Now we're having, 3 or 4 of those a day. So it's just the output that we were doing originally, which then caused us to have to spend a lot more on paid traffic to generate salespeople, which then caused us to hire an executive assistant, a head of operations. We already had our CAO, Scott, our COO, Scott, who was already in place. We've also hired, a full-time IT guy. So those are kind of the infrastructure that we're building out, which has caused us to achieve this growth.
So from the point of view from a client, you mentioned something a moment ago, that the setter on the acquisition team would get a percentage of I don't remember what you called it, maybe a setup fee from the client. What's that setup fee? How much is that?
So that varies. It's usually going to be about standardized 15% to 36,000. So that's usually the ballpark that we play in. It really depends on a variety of different factors. Some of them, are getting additional consulting from some of our clients. An example of this is we have a partnership with one of our clients that also helps with, the actual social media aspect for newer accounts that are, a little bit newer to the game. And don't have that, outstanding social media following. But typically an account that's, doing a couple $100,000 per month, they're usually going to have a onboarding fee at around 15K.
And so the 36K is what the client pays up front. That's what you were saying.
Yeah, 15 to 36K roughly.
What so what does that setup entail? Again, I've got a lot of people that have companies. I've got a ton of information marketers that watch the show on a daily basis. What can the company expect for that setup fee? What's the promise?
Okay. So we're basically splitting the costs on the initial setup of the operation, right? I have to make sure that we have, let's say, for instance, our strategist paid. So we have strategists on each account. They're typically going to handle about 4 to 5 accounts per, their scope of work. So that's part of it. You're splitting the cost on them. You'll also have account leads. So team leads that are helping the sales team get ramped up. We also are going to be setting up the CRM, webhooks, automations, any email campaigns and workflows, something that is not part of our scope, but we're having to do due to people not having the necessary team members and, a marketing partner in place is us building out the VSLs, building out funnels, stuff of that nature. That's not our scope of work, but Marshall, you know how business goes. Sometimes you got to do things that fall outside of the scope of work. So that's an example of some of the stuff that we're doing, but the bulk of it is towards building out the sales process, getting the sales team staff, making sure that everyone's compensated while we're doing that initial ramp up. And that's the nature of the onboarding fee.
So just to kind of recap, the 300% growth, because everybody wants that, occurred because you figured out a different acquisition process and got really aggressive on the acquisition side. And you're saying the majority of your ad spend now is just to acquire salespeople.
Correct. So we don't do any paid traffic to generate clients, just to be clear. So all of our client acquisition efforts are completely focused on probably 3 different areas. The main vehicle for it is direct outbound on social media. So that is just Instagram DMs. So put together a really clean message of your offer. For us, it's, hey, we see you have an education program. Would you be completely against generating X, Y, and Z in income in the next, 30 to 60 days? So that would be an example, followed by plenty of testimonials that we've generated similar results for our clients. So that would just be an example. Another way that we do this is through going to masterminds. So we pay for masterminds on a quarterly basis to go and network, to go and create relationships. And then the other is through referral partnerships, stuff of that nature. Those are our 3 main client acquisition models.
Ever had a challenge with a client that had a track record, doing well, making money, established brand, and you just couldn't make it fit?
Of course. Plenty of times. I mean, we're not perfect, and I would certainly never chalk ourselves up to be perfect. We're going to experience, situations where we just can't scale a client. But it's also up to us that when we do take on a client account to do the necessary due diligence so that we know if we're taking on someone that it's a surefire way of us scaling their sales operation, scaling their revenue. Of course, we're going to experience trials and tribulations, but we have to be able to mediate that and fix that while we're servicing this client, because that's part of the scope of work. We can't just take someone on and just say, hey, didn't work. All right, you're off to your own devices. So we do have guarantees in place. Part of our guarantee is that, we'll generate $150,000 in additional revenue within the first 60 days of starting the agreement. So that's part of it. Or they would get, basically a refund on their onboarding fee. So that's part of our guarantees. But the big money for us, Marshall, is made in scaling clients. It's not in that initial onboarding fee. It's in bringing a client from $100,000 a month to 500 or $1 million. Because, based off of the numbers that I kind of worked out with you, someone generating $500,000 a month is $200,000 in revenue for us. Or sorry, $100,000 in revenue for us.
What do you think going forward is going to happen? Obviously, everything's changed. AI is a prevalent part of our world now. Obviously, AI can do all the setting and all the chat messages. How much of what your business is doing right now is based on AI, if any?
Yes. So a lot of the automations when it comes to the texting and email aspect is very AI focused. However, consumers are getting a little bit more intelligent to what is real and what is fake. So we've noticed that actually adding a lot more manual interactions from, like, let's say a setter having a phone call conversation is going to go way further than some AI chatbot, having a conversation on text, for instance. So we try to limit it. We like to have a lot of manual interactions, but of course you're going to need to implement AI in, the lowest leverage aspects of the business to make sure that you don't have to put people there or virtual assistants, because in my honest opinion, AI chatbots are going to be way better than a virtual assistant, in my honest opinion. So we integrate it. It's not a huge focus or heavy focus. As it gets better, we'll start to integrate it more into the business, of course, but it's just not there yet from like a human to human interaction standpoint.
Obviously, you're based out of Canada. How many of your salespeople are based out of Canada?
I would say about 20 to 30%, give or take. Most of our sales reps are in the US.
And you also mentioned that you use English speaking, which I guess would imply that you have some international clients. Do you have some international clients?
We do. So we have a couple of clients in Dubai. They still service, English markets. We're trying to utilize AI actually to be able to cross that language barrier with some of the international clients and being able to service, for instance, we had a request of one of our clients to service the Denmark market. And I'm drawing a blank on, what the language they speak is there, unfortunately. But that would be an example of, us trying to cross that language barrier, utilizing a technology like AI.
What personally, obviously you've launched this extremely successful company. You guys are crushing it right now. What, you have a wife?
I have a girlfriend.
Got it. Do you have kids?
No kids yet.
What are your personal aspirations?
Personal aspirations. That's an excellent question there, Marshall. I would say that my core focus is to build a really great company. I think, at least as it stands for myself in my life right now, everything comes secondary. I think as long as I could be healthy, that's why I'm walking on this treadmill. For those of you who are seeing me now, I was a lot rounder a couple months ago, but thanks to this walking treadmill and a good diet, I've been able to get that under check. But I would say for myself, as long as I'm healthy, I want to put a tremendous amount of focus towards this company. Because one of the things that I truly derive pleasure from is seeing other people be successful through our efforts at the company. Like seeing a sales guy come into this and not make really great money beforehand and then come into our company and make his first $20,000 or $30,000, like that's life-changing money for some folks, for a lot of folks. So to see them be able to live the life of their dreams through the company and the opportunity that we've built here, selfishly, that like gives me a lot of pleasure. So I think that's why I put so much focus and effort towards this company. So for me, it's just scaling this thing up as far and as big and great as I can.
And for salespeople, like I said, that are interested, obviously they go to your website, they click on career. No cost for them if they would like to research more about what opportunities are available with you.
Correct.
What do you have? And I'm not asking for myself personally on this call right now, but what do you have as a bounty for anybody that could hand you a substantial number of salespeople? Because clearly, if you're going to go through the growth that it sounds like you're going through, that's going to be the weak link in the chain.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, if anyone has an abundance of salespeople that they're looking to toss our way, I'd be more than happy to entertain a conversation. And there would certainly be a finder's fee of some sort that we'd be able to work out.
And what do you suppose that might be? Because I know for a fact I've got some. I just saw them in the chat. I've got a sales trainer in the chat that tuned into the show. What is a brand new salesperson worth to you?
It's hard to say, right? Because performance varies so widely across different salespeople. It's hard to say that they are going to be exceptional. So the way that we've worked with recruiters in the past is about 10 to 20% of their yearly earnings is typically what salespeople are going to go for. So something to that effect probably makes sense. But I think at the rate in which we're generating such high-level sales talent, to put up that initial fund to accommodate some type of relationship like that, it doesn't make sense from an ROI standpoint, at least not right now. Could it be something that I'd entertain in the future? Of course. But yes, there would certainly be a finder's fee of some sort. I would entertain that conversation.
And then finally, before we wrap up, what are some of you mentioned Eli Wild as one of the sales trainers you've worked with. What are some of your favorite sales training people and why?
I think they're all great, right? Like sales, it's not black and white. And I feel like people get so fixated on, I love Grant Cardone, I love, Jeremy Minor, I love, Jordan Belfort. And every other sales process is wrong as a result. I think they all work. I think there's tons of great sales trainers out there, and there's tons of guys who have no idea what they're talking about. But I think for the most part, the guys who are most prevalent in the space, like an Eli Wild or a Grant Cardone or Jeremy Minor or Cole Gordon or any of these guys, they all provide exceptional sales training. It's more so, what do you think works best for your personality type? Because the fundamentals of sales is like training you what to say and how to say it is the easy part. It's not hard to show people what words to say. It's hard to find someone who works incredibly hard, who has good morals and ethics, who has good, I hate this word, but emotional intelligence, and is able to converse with people and have their best interests in mind. Because all sales is getting to the other side of the table with an individual and helping them solve a problem. That's all it is. So I don't have a favorite sales trainer. I think they're all great. I think you have to choose the one that, you see suits your personality type best.
Very diplomatic of you.
I appreciate it.
So I said that was going to be the last one. I've got two questions, actually. Question number one, is there a structure, like a framework, that you think goes into an effective sales presentation?
I certainly do.
What do you think that is?
I think for us, what's served us best is pretty much following this process in order, which is the initial set of the call, giving clear instructions for how the conversation is going to go. That way, both parties are on somewhat of similar terms, and so that the conversation doesn't get too side-railed. The next step to that would be the discovery phase, where we're uncovering information about our prospect. What are they looking to accomplish? What's holding them back? What are the big obstacles? Where are they at now? Where do they want to be? Pretty much uncovering all of the information and ammunition that we'll need going into the product pitch. From there, we go into the product pitch. We break it down into a 3 or 4 part process in which we're explaining, let's say, for instance, with education products, you have the education, you have the implementation, and then you have the community aspects. And then you would go through the closing process. And that's typically, I would say, the most cut and dry version of our sales process. There's a million different ways to go about it, but I would say that's what we have seen has worked best.
And is there a distinction between selling to Canadians versus US citizens?
No. No, I mean it's just helping people solve problems at the end of the day. Like people like to chalk it up to you need to have, a master's degree in human psychology. It's just having someone's best interest in mind is going to go far further than you understanding NLP in its deepest format. Just wanting to see someone actually win, believing in your product, having a conversation, a candid conversation where you have the person's best interest in mind and you're an expert in your product without getting into the weeds. That's all you need, in my honest opinion.
Awesome, man. So before we wrap up, any last questions, anything you want to add to the conversation?
No, it was an absolute honor to be here, Marshall. Thank you so much for having me.
Cool, man. Well, God bless. Good. Have a great walk. And thanks so much for taking the time to be here live on the show.
I appreciate it, Marshall. Thank you so much.
You bet. Take care, brother. Good stuff happening. Hey, we are about to enter the vault, where I'll start taking your calls right here at Studio Money. All you got to do is let us know if you have a question. Go to studiomoney.info/live guests. That'll let us know you're a real person. We'll get you on the air. If you're interesting and everybody loves you, you could win 10 ounces of pure silver. Or you could also say the secret word, win $7,500 today. So we're going to take a short break, show you a couple of videos, and we'll be back in the vault right after this.
Turning point. A total change in direction for the better.
Who here is ready for a turning point? You absolutely have to have one. Put them high.
The 2-day Turning Point seminar is different than any other program in that it does more than just teach you the skills for your relationships, wealth, and power. It also programs you on a subconscious level to put those skills into immediate use.
This weekend is about empowerment. This weekend is about you understanding how to take charge of your own life.
You will learn total control of your thoughts and emotions. How to use PND, or psychoneural duplication, to take on the thoughts and actions of others to produce similar results. Whether it's losing weight, changing habits, being a millionaire.
When you think what a millionaire thinks and you do what a millionaire does, you'll produce similar results.
You will learn to program these powerful tools at a subconscious level for immediate and lasting results.
Your conscious mind is what's called your critical factor. It's the mind you're using right now to determine whether the information I'm giving to you will work for you or not. Your subconscious mind, on the other hand, is merely a computer. It's non-critical. It doesn't even have the ability to make judgment. So all trance, hypnosis, reprogramming is setting aside the critical factor of your conscious mind and non-critically accepting suggestions.
And empowering.
To make a fear vanish, you must experience it fully.
As it helps you create your life exactly the way you want it. Bring your family closer. Find the love of your life. Create strategies for wealth. Learn irresistible influence, and so much more. Because of the intimate nature of this course, seats are very limited. Register now before your life passes you by, and there are no more turning points for you. Tens of thousands of people have learned this information and are using it daily.
You don't get angry if you get fired from your job and you know that within 2 years you will be a multi-millionaire.
It's your time.
There's a way for you to win this game that is different than how you're doing it, and it works.
It's your life.
When you learn how to do that, you become more powerful, and power is for use.
It's your turning point.
Isn't it time for your first million? Wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to do what you love and learn how to monetize that on a 7-figure level? Do you want to know exactly what you need to do and what not to do to have your biggest year ever? If not now, when? First Million. A 2-day subconscious learning experience that both teaches and programs you with the personality traits and habits of multimillionaires. At First Million, you'll learn how to take almost any wealth vehicle to a 7-figure level or better. You'll learn how to stop using vehicles that don't work, are too difficult, or simply unsuited for you. Making money is supposed to be fun. Stop living your life, getting ready to live your life, and start living a life of adventure. First Million was crafted to not just change what you do, it's also going to change who you are. Instead of trying to become a millionaire, you'll learn that you're already a millionaire, even if the money has not yet been deposited in your bank account. Beyond mindsets, you'll learn the actual personality traits of multimillionaires, so you'll naturally do what millionaires do to produce a similar result. One of the key personality traits of a millionaire is charisma. Imagine being able to walk into a room and without speaking a word, have the entire room drawn to you. Imagine others hanging on your every word, wanting to be near you, to be in business with you, and hungry to buy whatever you're selling. First Million will teach you how to use the charisma that politicians, entertainers, CEOs, and celebrities use to move nations and make millions. You'll also learn how to get more done in less time. You'll learn priority management and what the highest and best use of your time is. You'll learn laser-like focus upon IGAs, or income-generating activities, and you'll learn to let go of anything below your pay grade. What if you had more customers than you ever imagined? What if they came right to you and fought to buy from you? At First Million, you'll learn attraction marketing and strategies to get others to pay you for your marketing and advertising before they even purchase your offer. When you attend your First Million, you'll begin to see an overwhelming amount of amazing opportunities all around you. You'll look through the matrix and easily identify target-rich environments. You'll learn dovetailing and stacking strategies to acquire more customers and do more business with the customers you already have. Unless something is sold, no money is made. Whether you're a sales pro, a novice, or even scared to death of selling something, your First Million is going to have you fall in love with influence and enjoy it as the game that it is. When you believe in what you're selling, you're obligated to sell it. You'll learn exact language patterns of influence and persuasion. You'll learn how to get others to ask you for what you're selling and have them believe it was their idea. You'll become dynamically able to use arcing statements, direct links, embedded commands, and so much more. An entire tool belt of selling gambits will be yours after you get to your First Million. As a First Million alumni, you will be clear on what you need to do to GTFM, or get the freaking money. You deserve great wealth, and your First Million will help to raise your self-esteem around the topic of money. The amount of money you make will always be determined by your own self-image. You'll learn what billion-dollar corporations already know about outsourcing, how to get anything below your pay grade done for pennies on the dollar. Your First Million will give you the groundwork to understand presentation skills and the highest paid profession on the planet, public speaking. When you graduate from your First Million, you'll be able to create presentations that inspire with confidence and power. If all that weren't enough, there's so much more. Making your First Million is almost certainly going to require that you manage at least a small team. You'll walk out of the course with the knowledge of how to lead teams and synergistically get more done in less time. Technology has made our lives so much easier as we've learned how to harness it. The First Million course will teach you what is up to date and available in technology so that you can use that cutting-edge technology to get more done and have more fun. You'll also learn how to harness the power of the internet for massive passive profits. Every time you attend your First Million, you'll learn new technology and internet marketing strategies, as these two portions of the class change every time you attend. It's like getting a brand new seminar each time you come. If you're a representative, you may attend your First Million as often as you like, totally free, with your enrollment in the First Million course. If you're not yet a rep, or if you have not yet invested in your First Million, enroll now. Everything begins in thought, and you know what you want to say. Go ahead, say it now. Say it out loud. I'm ready for my first million.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to the vault. I'm Marshall Silver. Here's where we talk about sex, money, and power. Everyday things. We also put up 10 ounces of pure silver for grabs when you are the most fascinating caller of the day, and you could potentially win $7,500 should you say the secret word of the day. Welcome to the show, Anna Rose. You're live on Marshall Silver Live.
Hello, good morning or afternoon. Great to see you, Marshall. I have a question regarding kind of when starting up a new business. So I'm currently working on setting up the base for my wellness business and just how to best structure products and services when in the very beginning, and like, what is too many products and services to offer? Is it better to have just one or two, or is it better to have kind of a buffet of options?
Unless you're Walmart or Amazon, it's hard to be all things to all people. And for any startup, and even, Amazon obviously fits the same mold. Initially, they didn't sell everything, they only sold books. And while that wasn't the ultimate model of their success, it certainly is a place to start. So I think, yeah, it's more important than figuring out what will you sell. The bigger question is, who will you sell it to? And then when you figure out who your avatar is and specifically who you're selling to, then what you sell will become more obvious. My own belief is you've got to figure out what is the core challenge that you are solving for your prospects. What is the thing they couldn't do or have or be without you or your services in the picture? So when you figure out exactly what do you solve, then that changes everything. One of the things that I looked at when I launched my career, both as a speaker and a trainer and having an education company, is I said, I don't want to be Pepsi to everybody else's Coca-Cola. I've got to figure out what makes me unique. And when you find that unique marketing proposition, your UMP, what happens is everything else falls into place. For me, it's subconscious reprogramming. In addition to teaching, it's helping people understand I can teach you all day long. If you don't personalize it on a subconscious level and accept it as a transformation of yourself, nothing's going to change. And so that is the first thing. Figure out who your avatar is. And then secondly, make sure that if you have multiple offers, you don't have more than 3 completely unique offers, because a confused mind never makes a decision. And then finally, what you want to do is be sure that you're also considering, there's people that no matter what you're selling won't buy a thing from you. They just don't. There's people that will buy a little bit from you. But then there's people that will buy anything you're selling. And those are the people that are your margin. Those are the people that are the lifeblood of your company. So what I like to do is I like to offer up a moderate offer that really is inconsequential. People don't really care. Under $50 is usually the mark to get people involved. Then you offer up something around a mid-range in the seminar and education business, somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000. But then you want to make sure that you have a all-encompassing, done for you, hire me, hire the company, buy our products, and your challenge is 100% solved. And that's a premium. That's a higher price point. That's where all your profit margins are. And that's also, again, I'm one of those buyers. If we go to Disneyland, I won't go to Disneyland without buying a VIP, which is extremely expensive, because my mind says, what's the point? My wife will ask me, would you like to go see a concert? And I'll say, if we can't get good seats, no, I don't want to go. I don't care how much I like the artist. I don't want to sit in nosebleed. I might as well watch them on TV. And so that's the thing you got to keep in mind. So the first thing I would do, figure out who the avatar is, figure out what 3, not the same offers are, 3 offers that would serve in different ways, increasingly, more effective. And that's where you start.
Okay.
Was that useful?
Yeah, that was super useful. Thank you.
Well, you are welcome. And I know you're calling from Canada, so thanks for keeping Canada alive on today's show.
Yeah, no problem. Oh, and my guess for the word was influence. For the secret
Good
word.
guess. Not the word, but that's a good guess.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mark.
Keep it up. Give your hubby a big hug for me. Yeah, good stuff. That's always the question, isn't it? What do I sell? And in a world where everybody seems to sell the same thing that everybody else is selling, that's the question. What do people really need right now? Our guest that was on the show just now, Ambro, was serving a need in the marketplace for people to have quality, effective salespeople. And if you go to a prospect and you say, hey, you can keep 100% of zero or give me 30% of a million, then if the person has any sense at all, they're going to go, well, how about I give you 30% of a million, because right now I've got 100% of nothing. And the customer always wonders not what is the cost. The customer doesn't care about the cost if ultimately it's profitable. What do I mean by that? If I come to you and I say, hey, I'd like to charge you $10,000 to consult for you, you might say, well, why would I write you a check for $10,000? But if I came to you and I said, I'm going to find you $100,000 worth of additional profits in your company, and I'm going to do that without you spending another dime in ads or hiring another person, no money out of your pocket. I'm going to find you $100,000 out of your pocket. It's going to cost you $30K. If I don't find the $100K, don't pay me. When I find the $100K, you agree to pay me $30,000. Where you hesitated at 10 grand, you're not going to hesitate at the 30%, because it's based on my performance. You just heard Ambro talking about that inside of the sales process, that all of his people, the almost 100% of his team, are commission only, meaning they are compensated on their productivity. And I think that's a really smart thing to set up any company best you can, is to figure out, how do we set up the business that we're doing in such a way that it's structured so that people are only compensated when they produce. So many times, if a teammate comes to me and says, hey, I want a raise, first thing I say is, awesome. Where's that coming from? Well, I've been here for 3 years, and, I'm loyalty and I'm always on time. I appreciate that. I love that very much. I've got a wife to be loyal to me, though. I've got, I've got, that friendship and that time already covered over here. What you need in a company is to make money. And every decision you make in the company, and a lot of people aren't going to like this, it's the truth though. Every decision you make in a business is about making money. Well, no, we're in the business of helping people. Okay. What happens when none of those people you're helping pay you anything? You're out of business. You're not able to help people. Well, we founded Google on the concept of do no evil. Well, sure you did. Right before right before you said, well, gosh, in order to run this massive entity, we got to make money. That's the bottom line. So don't let anybody lie to you. Don't let anybody pretend. And again, it's all nice and politically correct and a good pose to be in, to say, oh, we're not interested in making money. That's not our focus. We focus. No, you don't. No, you don't. So that said, GTFM, baby, get the freaking money. Melissa Siegler, you are live on the air on Marshall's Silver Live. Welcome home.
Woohoo! Hey, Marshall, how's it going?
Right there. Together we got this, baby. GTFM.
All right. Together we got this. Both show. Hey, so Scott and I were sitting here talking earlier this morning, and yesterday I was dumbfounded that there wasn't a question. Somebody in the green room, and I was like, who's wasting your time? Being able to get on and have your time.
Yeah, well, you know what? And this goes back to the point that I'm making right now. We've got to train people. And so I'm doing this broadcast to help people. I saw your comment. Oh my God, I was making room for other people. I get it. I respect that. I understand that. And it's one of those things that back in high school, the teacher would say, who would like to read out loud? And I would put my hand up. And after a while, nobody else would put their hand up, because I'd get up and I read out loud, and it was great. And I realized some of the kids, didn't think they could read as well as me, but I kept putting my hand up. It got to the point where the teacher would say, is there anyone other than Marshall that wants to read out loud? And ultimately there wasn't. And, I look at that and I laugh about that, because here we are, here I am.
Mhm.
$600 million plus later, here I am being the one volunteering to read out loud. And when you come to Turning Point, you sit in the front row every time. You just sit in the front row. You do whatever you need to do. You sit in the front row. You bring guests. They sit with you. Why? Because that's your nature. You don't do anything halfway. And so when I cut the show short, because there's no calls right when we go into the vault, it's a training cycle. So you responded to that training cycle because you are moldable talent. And we teach people how to treat us. I don't, I'll give somebody the benefit of the doubt if we're thinking about working together and maybe they got some things they need to handle. There's a point where I just say, you know what, if you haven't figured out that I'm a really good bet for you, I'm not your bet. If you don't realize that the guy that already did over $600 million could probably help you do $1 million at your live event when you've only done a few 100,000 in the past. If you don't realize that at this point, okay, good luck, because you'll realize it after your event when you do it again. That training cycle is essential. So enough ranting on my part. Yes, you're here. I'm glad you're here. What's your question?
Okay, so Scott and I were chit-chatting, and he, both of us, we're talking about those income generating activities.
Yep.
So when you have somebody that has worked paycheck to paycheck for 30 or 40 years, and they've
Like your
had
guy.
that cash, yes, he's had that cash flow coming in, and his desire is to stop that job, to get out of that job. He's never not had that cash flow. So he's like, what am I going to do for that income generating idea or activity? And I'm asking that not just for him, but for other people that I'm talking with. I approach people to come to Turning Point every day.
Yep.
And I understand that there has to be some sort of a credit score, to proceed. There has to be some kind of manageable funds to be able to grow yourself. You can't just do everything for free, because we are selling something. We are selling time and knowledge and all of those things. But for this 23-year-old who's working paycheck to paycheck, and he really wants to come, and he doesn't have a house, he doesn't have a car, what can I offer as and for myself as well, for that not necessarily, fast generating income activity, money generator that I can, tell Scott, I can tell Isaiah, I can share that, because I know they have the potential.
You asked a
So
lot of questions.
I did. I'm
You
sorry.
did. No, don't be sorry. I just wanted to point out that you asked a few questions, so I want to go back and address them best I can. First one you said is Scott being massively motivated, and again, his track record has already proved itself. He's loyal, he's hardworking, he's
Mhm.
committed, he's stayed with the same company for decades. So if there was ever an ideal teammate to have on your team, he's the guy. He said, "What am I going to do to replace the cash?" But that's not what it came out as when you said it. And he didn't say it to me, so I have no idea how he delivered it. I pay really close attention to how people deliver what they deliver. And what you said, he said, was, if I don't have this job, what am I going to do to replace the income? Was the end of the sentence, but it wasn't the beginning of the sentence. And I think that in his instance, especially, that's more pertinent. What am I going to do? Not for the money. What am I going to do? Period. Who's going to tell me what to do is exactly what the point is. And here's the challenge for anybody. I don't care how good you are. I don't care how awesome you are. Anybody that's worked for somebody else, even, and this is especially true in higher level management, that ends up getting displaced or getting fired, or the company shuts down, they lose their job for some reason, they have no clue of what to do with their lives. Because for whatever period of time they served someone, they were loyal to an organization, and now all of a sudden the organization isn't there or doesn't want them. Now they're going, okay, now what do I do? Because their career was based on doing what they were directed to do. So that's the first hurdle that anybody that's been an employee, I don't care how successful you've been as an employee, even if you were the CEO of a company, somebody still tells you what to do. The shareholders, the board of directors, somebody else the owner is saying, look, go do this. That's the first thing. The second thing is, yeah, on the income side of things, we've got to figure out what's the income we are replacing at a bare bones minimum. And so when we have that dollar amount, chances are if they're working for somebody else, it's not usually, sometimes it is in a rare circumstance, it's not usually though that big an amount. So, if we're talking 80, 100, 200,000, $250,000 working as an employee for somebody else, it's not that big an amount. The challenge is it seems insurmountable because the attempt's never been made to replace that income. And so the final note on this topic is the example that always comes back to mind because it's true. If you tell a crack addict, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have any money for your crack today," the crack addict will say, "Well, okay, what do I got to do?" And they'll do whatever they got to do to feed their addiction. Whatever they won't, "Oh, I'm not really feeling like working today to feed my crack addiction." No, they get up, they do whatever they want to do. And unfortunately, sometimes things that are not moral or healthy or good. But that's what a crack addict does. So part of the challenge is that people don't want things enough. When you come to Turning Point, as you know, one of the things that I tell people, we've got to turn your wantingness up. We got to get you on a private jet. We got to get you into your ideal home. We got to test drive your dream cars. We've got to help you if that's your thing. Let's go down to Tijuana and take a look at these families that are living in garbage dumps. So your brain says, I'd like to donate $1 million to help house at least, this number of people. So we've got to get in there and get that person to the realization that, if you worked somewhere for 40 years and didn't get fired, you did something right. So what were the things that you were doing right? Are you somebody that is really good at processes, at systems, not so great at sales? Well, if that's the case, great. Let's figure out somebody that's great at sales, launch your company, put in your processes, and do that. I know for a fact that your guy is also a collector, and that is his real genuine passion. And so for me, I have a friend of mine who, along with his partners, launched a company called Cards and Coffee, Coffee and Cards. And they've got, I think, 10 retail stores right now doing probably $4 million a year in trading card business. That's a lot, for a retail store that does coffee and trading cards. That's a lot. But as you know, some of those cards can be worth millions. And so the bottom line is not how do we replace the income? The better starting question on that particular type of person, what do I love? What do I want my life to be? If I could replace the income and that was not a challenge, if I knew that my income would be secure, what would I do? That's the question that Scott needs to answer. And when
he
he
would
can
play
answer,
with baseball cards every day, Marshall.
well, there you go. Then that's the answer. Then if I were mentoring Scott directly, that's what I would be uncovering and that I'd be looking at. I'd be looking at every example of people that are making a full-time living buying and selling cards or in that business in some way. That's 100% what I would look at and say, okay, how do we make this your business? Because it should be. And you and I both know that it should be. You're the entrepreneur in the family. That's the distinction. He's the rock. And relationships need both. The thing about it is, though, the rock needs somebody to inspire them as much as the visionary needs somebody to test their theories. You also mentioned young people or broke people specifically, people that maybe don't have money and, don't have, if they come to Turning Point, they don't have any way to buy any additional education. And we're in the business of selling education. We are. I was that person at 23 years old, though. I was invited to a seminar. I was made an offer that I couldn't afford, absolutely could not afford the money that the guy on the platform was selling his program for, except when I saw him, I knew I needed it. And even though it was a $3,000 investment to me at 23 years old, and what is that, almost 40 years ago now? So what would that be today? 30,000 or more. I didn't have the money. And I also knew I needed what he was offering. And my brain got bold. My brain got extremely determined. And I did whatever I needed to do the next morning to come up with the $3,000 that I needed. Didn't have dependable transportation, about to be kicked out of my apartment, everything falling apart, at the seams. And I said, I've got to go to this seminar. My life depends on it. And it's that switch that gets made that we all change. I stopped drinking alcohol in July. And I never thought of myself as an alcoholic. I never thought of that. I was extremely functional. Very rarely was I ever belligerent or mean when I was drinking, except I also am at level 61. And for me to advance my life and to step back as I'm coming back out of semi-retirement, to step back into it, I've got to ask myself, are you playing the game fully? Are you doing everything that you can? Or are there things that you could be doing that you're not really doing? And if that's the case, then what we've got to do is say, we're not playing fully. And I said, what's one thing I could do today that would make me better at everything I do? And the answer was obvious: stop drinking. So stop drinking in a heartbeat, July 12th of last year. Don't look back on it. I have no regrets. I have a family member right now that's dealing with a lot of emotional turmoil. And when somebody is dealing with that kind of stuff, we're not them. And sometimes there's nothing we can say or do that's going to make any change. All I know is that by the grace of God go I. And so I'd like my example to be one to other people, maybe even to this person in my family that needs this as an example, that says there's another way. And although the you that you are today won't live that way, the you that you are in your heart of hearts will live that way naturally. So my thing on Turning Point, and the biggest reason, the biggest motivation I launched this broadcast, Melissa, was to give people that don't have any resource, don't have any money, maybe all they have is their phone, that for a couple hours a day, they can take a look and watch the show and be inspired and hear the message and get invited to Turning Point. And if they can't get to Turning Point, at least jump on the broadcast until their mind is transformed enough, their life is transformed enough that they can. Make sense?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Just just looking at those activities that can get them to a place where they can afford a plane ticket and
Yeah. So once
lodging and
again, how you get them to that place is you have them ask the question,
what
how do
am I
you
gonna
serve other people? So I'll give you
right.
an example.
Yeah.
If it was reversed and I knew somebody that didn't have the resources, maybe their phone bill's not being paid, I would say, look, here's my criteria, just as this example goes, of people that I want to invite to Turning Point. I would like you to find me people that meet this criteria. 720 credit score, $100,000 annual household income, wanting a better life. For every one of those people you find me that actually attends Turning Point, I'll pay you $100.
Okay. Yep.
Get on social
That's
media.
yep.
Ambro, our guest on today's show, he gave a great insight. I'm not sure everybody caught it. He was doing $100,000 a month in revenue, $150,000 a month in revenue for his company in December. That's 4 months ago. And he lost his biggest client. So now in his moment of desperation, he says, we got to do something different. We need clients. And so he went back to his acquisitions manager and he said, I need you to turn up your acquisitions dramatically. And he said, without me spending money on advertising, how are you going to do this? And his acquisitions manager got creative and said, you know what? I'm going to pay a bounty to every DM somebody sends. And the bounty, if what he said was true, and I have no reason not to think it was, he said, if you heard it, the bounty was $1 per DM. So you message all these people on Instagram, which I guarantee you that 23-year-old is sitting on for at least part of the day. You send a DM to these folks on Instagram. I'll pay you $1 per DM you can show me you sent. And if any of them end up following through and setting up an appointment, I'll pay you additional money. So you could do the very same thing. Get a boatload of 23-year-olds, put them in a room. Say, look, start messaging all these people and tell them that we've got this training, this program, this offer, this product, this service, doesn't matter. And everybody that gets into a phone call, on a meeting, opt-ins to the landing page will pay you that bounty. That's what I would do. In fact, like I said, the moment I got done with the interview with Ambro, I said, here's 5 things I can take action on. This will all work. That's what you got to do. So one of the things that we're looking at doing and we've been chatting about this, is I'm looking at a couple of buildings down here in Southern California. I absolutely 100% believe that the economy is saved by salespeople. Our economy is made better by salespeople. And I'm seeing a whole lot of people being disenfranchised about college, disenfranchised about the world in general. And I'd like to help that young generation. And I'm talking, 18 to 25. I'd like to help that segment of people be trained in things that are useful. And so one of the things that we are talking about doing right now is holding multi-day training for people that are 18 to 25, totally free, but you got to complete the training and set it up in such a way that it's $495 deposit to take this training. We're not going to sell you anything at the training. Nothing will be upsold to you. And if you complete the 4 days of training, you get your $495 back. All we want to do is train you. Obviously, as a business model, that wouldn't do any good. I've got to pay for facility. I got to pay for AV. I got to pay for the person doing the 4 days of training. But what would I get on the back end? Well-trained people that I can then place in other companies for the bounty that I was talking about with Ambro. And so again, there's always a way for us to win. It's always different than how we've been doing it, though, if we're not winning, and it works. And that's the strategy. So I'm thinking about those 23-year-olds right now myself, and thinking about, how lost I was at 21, 22, 23, and how grateful I am that God put the proper people in my place, in my way, in my path, so that I could end up having the life that I have today.
Yeah, I love that idea. I'm working on. I got access to a 3,400 person meetup group email list, and the owner graciously said, "I'll send out your email to my meetup group. Just
What kind of a
formulate
meetup
it."
group? What kind of a meetup group?
She's Amy Winslow. I want her to be a speaker on your show. Actually, she's an
I
owner
would
of
love that.
Products to Profits, and it's all entrepreneurs. It's new entrepreneurs between 1 and 5 years. Is this
I love
meetup
it.
group?
And is it geographically specific?
They're all in Pasadena.
California.
Hmm.
Well, I love it. Maybe we should do an event in Pasadena.
She would absolutely 100%. And I also am working on a turning point event here in my hometown, Wenatchee. We have a venue for 5,000. So I'm talking with the, it's called Flywheel. It's a entrepreneurial competition, and hundreds of people, all entrepreneurial, and they compete for money for their best startup. And so we have Town Toyota Center, and I'm talking with them about maybe putting in a turning point between your turning points.
I love it. So exactly what's going on right now. This is exactly what this show was designed for. It's designed to stimulate thought. It's designed to help people network, whether it's in the chat, whether it's people on social media commenting about what the content is and all the above. It's designed to help people recognize that there's a way for them to win, and that communication equals wealth. This family member that's dealing with a lot of challenge right now, I know what's going on is they're in their head. They're thinking too much about things that don't serve them. And so what's got to happen is they've got to get out of their head. And this is the expression I use whenever I find myself in a funk: get out of your head, get into other people's lives. And what do I mean by that? When we are of service to other people, when we are focused on assisting other people, our own personal challenges are minimized because we don't have time for them anymore. And so I highly recommend, if you're in a funk, if you're depressed, if you're addicted, you're drinking too much or smoking too much or anything too much, then all I can say is figure out a way to be of service to other people, solve someone else's challenge, and it will solve your challenge simultaneously.
Oh, so if I'm going to guess for today, because I didn't hear the first 5 minutes, I don't know what the clues were, but I know you said you were going to do this at some point again. So I'm just going to say Funkmeister.
Yes, I did say I was going to do the word, and I'm going to write it down right now because it's not the word of the day today, but it is going to be the word in the next month. It's going to be
That's
the
what
word
you
of the
said 3 weeks ago. So
Funkmeister.
I was like, I'm like, okay,
All
it's
right.
gonna
So
almost
everybody
work.
listening right now, you just got a clue. If this thing keeps growing in a month, it'll be up about $30,000. And I'm going to commit that sometime between now and 20 shows into the future, 1 month, the secret word is going to be Funkmeister. It's not
Okay.
today. It is not today. But good
Darn it.
guess. You're loved. I appreciate you so much. You give Scott a big hug and you tell him
All right.
I'm excited to see him real soon. Take care. People are awesome. People are fun. That's the point, right? Is to be happy. The point is to celebrate life. And you got to throw noodles against the wall. If you don't throw noodles against the wall, you will never know what you're going to get. Thank you, Forrest Gump. Jeff Demeron, you are live on the air. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Marshall. It's awesome to be here. And
Cool. Brother,
thank you.
Where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from Tennessee, from the mountains.
Lovely. You know, when all the insanity started happening with the scamdemic and the lockdowns, California, of course, was one of the worst in the nation for everything.
Right. Yeah.
And Tennessee was one of the main places I was looking at. You guys have a great political climate there. You've got great quality of life there. I was looking at some properties on the river, which I thought would be just spectacular. So I have a special affection for Tennessee. What do you do for a living?
Well, I was from Michigan originally, and I believe your roots are there.
Yep.
And so I've basically been a serial entrepreneur since 2012. And you probably don't remember, but I actually got a chance to meet you in person in 2009. Came out with a buddy of mine. We spent an hour at your beautiful place in Vegas. It was amazing experience. And my friend David Newby had introduced us. Back then, I was going to write a book on how to become a millionaire in 12 months. And I was interviewing successful people, and you were right on the top of the list. And so anyways, I got into real estate investing and had the fortune of going through foreclosure myself. So that allowed me to connect with folks. And so built a company on helping people save their houses. And so anyway, fast forward to 2 years ago, we got out of Detroit. We said, we're going to the mountains, to God's country, and kind of living off grid, renting a farm on 97 acres, doing sustainability, have 100 chickens, our own garden, and just, working on writing a book to get off the grid and, bring this to folks. Cause as you mentioned, we're coming into really a potential tough time, and folks don't have the skills, the knowledge, and even the awareness of what's coming up. So, but yeah, Northeast Tennessee is where we're at. I recommend it highly. We get a lot of, they call us implants, you're one of those implants, and from California, New York, and so we got a great community here. We're homeschooling. I had a practice wife, it got me back in the day. And actually, it was a J. Scott Shield event, and you actually hypnotized her. I remember back in the day. So we got some history together. But I just wanted to say thank you for coming out of retirement and doing this. And my question, I've been a follower of, self-improvement and invested a lot of money in my education and stuff. And I know you've had more success than about anybody I can see. And, in the question I put, the difference between manifesting and reprogramming your subconscious mind, how quickly can you do that? What would you attribute, Marshall, your success, and why, somebody's able to do that? And then the final part of the question is, how quick can we do it? The universe loves speed, right? They love action takers. They like people that go out there and do it. No excuses, just, how am I going to do it? Don't worry about it. Just, the resources will come to you. So anyways, so if I was to say, and this is for everybody, and that last interview you had was amazing. But, for everybody, I think one of the biggest things I see is, I work with business owners, 30 million out there, they're struggling. So we bring them cash, contingency based. We find tax incentives and stuff like that. So, but for the individual, how can they change their life quickly and maybe generate some money in a week, for instance? Can it happen that quick, Marshall?
It can, of course, it can. Be ye transformed in the twinkling of an eye. I went back in 19. Gosh, what year was it? 1994. I had an idea, and nobody supported me on the idea. In fact, all the people I went to said it was a bad idea. And I decided to do the idea anyway. In my gut, I said, "Nah, this is spot on. I know I'm going to win. I'm going to trust myself," and I did. And went from being $250,000 in debt. I owed $250,000 out of pocket to paying off the 100% of the debt and having 2 million liquid net in the bank inside of 2 months.
Mm.
And
Wow.
and so the first thing I tell everybody is we've got to accept that not is it just possible, it's certain, it's doable. So, I don't care what the dollar amount is. Somebody can say, "Well, I need to make $1 billion this week." It's doable. And even though not as likely as 1,000 might be, it's still doable. It's got to start with that it's not can I, it's got to start with the concept of how do I. And that is one major distinction between people that accomplish things and people that do not, is the people that accomplish things don't enter into the conversation with themselves saying, I sure hope I get lucky. They say, no, there's a way to do this. I just need to figure out how to do this. It's Edison and his team inventing the light bulb. They don't say, gosh, let's see if we can invent the light bulb. They say, no, we're inventors. We need to invent the light bulb. It's what we do. So the first thing is a person has to accept the fact that it's doable. The second thing is people have to find target-rich environments. So if I'm seeking to do something, I need to figure out, is there a place that would respond, even could respond to what I'm doing? Meaning, if I'm seeking to make $1,000 in a week, okay, who has $1,000 and why would they want to give it to me? Are the two questions I've got to answer for myself. Once I've figured out how to find that target-rich environment, the would and the could, they would want whatever I'm offering, my product, service, concept, or idea. They would want it. The second question in that target-rich environment question is, can they afford to pay me what I'm asking for it? Somebody that solves, I've got a number of challenges in my life. People that could solve those challenges for me are infinitely valuable to me. And when I say infinitely valuable, what do I mean? Again, I already gave the example in the previous conversation. You tell me you're going to make me $1 million, but you want me to pay you $500,000? Okay. No effort on my part. What you're basically telling me is I want to hand you $1 million, Marshall. I want to use your face and I want to hand you $1 million. That's what this is. When I go and speak on other people's stages, I'm expensive, except I'm worth it. Whereas somebody else might do splits where they receive 30 or 40 or even 50%. My splits are between 60 and 100% consistently. Why? Because I produce a result. And so when somebody has me at their conference and they know they've got 500 people there or 1,000 people there, and they say, I can count on Marshall producing $1 million worth of revenue for the event, I'm going to get half of that. They know for a fact it's done. It's guaranteed that I'm going to solve their challenge, pay for their whole event, and make them profitable. And I think that that's the other thing that somebody that is seeking to find their avatar, their target rich environment, has to ask, what is my unique skill set? What is the thing that I offer at the investment I'm seeking that somebody may not be able to get anywhere else? Again, in my example, conferences can have any speaker they want. They can pay Tony Robbins' $250,000 speaking fee. And if what you're looking to do is fill that room up with a lot of bodies, he's probably a good choice. But if you're looking to make money on that crowd and you're looking to actually monetize the audience that's seated in there, Tony's not going to sell anything. He doesn't have the skill set. Robert Kiyosaki's not going to sell anything. He doesn't have the skill set, nor the offers. So if you want to make money, yeah, you'd bring in a guy that's not as well known, yet is guaranteed on the results. So that's the answer to that dilemma. You talked about it a bit. What is your business?
We find tax incentives for business owners, small, medium, and large. Cash flow, create cash flow, cost segregation. They own buildings. We're getting them immediate cash flow. Whether it's a physical check or whether it's a reduction in their taxes to the IRS. So, I mean, how much, if a company gets $500,000, how much sales would they have to generate? Maybe a couple million to get that. So this is the lifeblood, and our unique offer or sales proposition is same thing, contingency based. Let us perform for you. You pay us out of what we get you, period.
Very cool. Any other questions?
No, I just happy to be here, and good to see your face, and thanks for taking my question. And I'm gonna add first million to my but hopefully it's gonna be a deca million. Let's just not say first million. First 10 million,
Way better.
Anyway, thank you so
Awesome,
much,
brother.
Marshall.
You bet. You take care, Jeff. We have time for one more quick question live on the air. John, welcome home.
Hey, Marshall, thank you so much for having me on. Before I ask my question, I just want to say it's so refreshing to be able to hear your voice every day. We all need tune-ups. Kelsey's here. She loves you. She
Hey,
can't
Kelsey.
wait. She can't wait for Inner Circle. She's chomping at the bit.
I'm
And
excited.
I can't wait to send her because you're going to help us make our first million.
Perfect. What's your
You're
question?
going. My question is, Marshall, I'm scared. I'm scared for our country.
Yeah.
And I know you have insight on this. Are we destined for another stolen election this year?
Yes.
What can we do? Can we do anything?
We can have these conversations. Yeah, they're already on the voter rolls showing that in the state of Florida and in the state of Texas already, they have massive amounts of newly registered voters. We're talking hundreds of thousands of people that did not show IDs to become registered voters. And again, the only way that the current administration could win the next election, there's no physical way that it could be done, as it wasn't done also in 2020. There's no honest way to do that. And so the only way to make it happen is through dishonesty and crime. And that's what we're going to see. So what can we do? We can have these conversations. We can all wake up. We can all realize, already they've been hinting at, oh my God, this brand new bird flu jumped over to the cow. It's jumping over to humans, and they're testing us. About a month ago, went to the hospital to get some labs done. And when I walked in, the woman made me put on a mask. And I said, what the heck? She said, yeah, it's brand new. The policy just got instigated today. For what? And they said, there's been some health concerns, and they've just reinstigated the policy. And I put up some flack, and I wouldn't put the mask on. I said, I'm sorry, if I'm not safe here at the hospital, where am I safe? If I have to worry about germs here, then I guess I'm dead already.
Yeah.
And so a couple of weeks ago, we had another reason to be there at the hospital, and they had dropped the policy again already. And so my belief, it was a test to see if people would fall for it again. And I guarantee you, I don't care whether you're Democratic, Independent, Republican, non-decided, the majority of the population isn't going to fall for that BS again. So that said, they're testing right now to see what they can get away with. They're certainly going to go down the same path they did before with Dominion, and Dominion doing what Dominion does, and everything else. So the fact of the matter is, yeah, we've got to get back to basics, and that's the best way to clean anything up. You get back to basics, and so we've got to get back to in-person, ID required, same-day voting, paper ballots. We've got to get back to that. It's the only way we can even that can be cheated. It's the only way, though, we're going to stop this massive amount of fraud that's already going on. But you asked two questions. You asked, is the election likely to be fraudulent? Yeah, it is. At this pace, almost certainly, unless we've got to get a whole bunch of people in higher positions than the two of us waking up and demanding things be different, which they are. It's going to be the same. But the other question was more of a question of, what about the health of our country? I believe in God. I love God deeply. And it is impossible to live a life of doom and gloom without having it take its toll. So the bigger and better question is it in my highest and best use to believe that we're all doomed and, everything's going to go to hell in a handbasket and we're all going to become slaves, and Hunger Games, wasn't a movie, it was a documentary. That's certainly a possibility, yet believing that today before we're there is not wise. I would rather believe that things are happening right now. Certain, people in high visibility are being exposed, and I believe that as the dam begins to crack, it starts to expose a whole lot of other things. So I think, with P. Diddy running all over the country, avoiding conversations with anybody. He hasn't, his houses were raided by the FBI and the DOJ, and he's not doing interviews to say, hey, this is all BS. I would. If it was really BS, I would go, look, I'm being attacked. This is baloney. And, that's all I'm going to say about it for now. I just think that I don't think they raided Trump's Mar-a-Lago because they thought Trump had information he wasn't supposed to have related to security for the government. Mar-a-Lago was invaded, and I'll use that word because they believed he had things that would expose some of the crimes. And I think I believe that's what's going on. Again, that's my personal opinion. I pray that we're still in a country where I'm allowed to have an opinion and it doesn't immediately make sure that I'm canceled. But it's a fact. That's where we live today. That's the reason we invite people to come join us in the vault, to make sure that you opted into the vault so that I can be here. I can, you asked a legit question. And if I'm wrong, then I'm embarrassed for it. If I'm an idiot, if I'm a conspiracy theorist and everybody thinks I'm Looney Tunes, okay, fair enough. But I got to have an opinion. And that's the last thing that I will tell you is that you got to have an opinion. You got to be willing to have an opinion. I think that the majority's opinion is not what mainstream media would have us believe it is. I believe the majority's opinion is that people want to take care of their kids. They want to, be happy. They want to be fed. They want to be protected. Here you're wanting to take care of your love and make sure she goes out and learns things that can benefit your entire family's life. That's what I believe. Hey, I got to run. You are totally loved. Thanks for being on the show, and I'll chat with you soon. I'm Marshall Silver. We are wrapping up this edition of Marshall Silver Live. Thanks so much for being on the show. Nobody won the cash today, even though I was drinking my infused drink the whole time. Yep, somebody thought they had it. Infused, baby. Coming up on someday soon, Funkmeister will be the secret word of the day. And it's your time now to vote for the calls that we had to the show and determine, is it Anna? Is it Melissa? Is it John? Is it Jeff? Who's your favorite call? Because that person's going to get 10 ounces of Marshall Silver. Have an awesome day. Tomorrow, same time, same bat channel. See you then. Hey there, moguls. It's me, Marshall Silver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show coming up 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. I'm going to give you content, information, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice for having it all. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. So stay tuned.